to the cloud. And we'll do, okay, one more time. Oh, I have to change the view to speaker view. And then, no. Why? Oh, because it's over here. Mute all. Okay. Got that. Ooh. This. Do this. I'll get all these buttons working. There we go. No. Ah, view. Full screen view. That's what I wanted to do. This is always great. It's like knowing that I'm going to teach mindfulness meditation and run around for a half hour to set everything up to be able to teach the class. Okay.
So breathe.
Yes.
My watch says breathe. Remember to
Yes, I got a new one that does that, and then it leads you through it 12 times for, so anyway. Sitting up nice and comfortably. Let's start with mindfulness of deep breathing. To get us nice and relaxed and comfortable. So breathing in to a count of 3 and breathing out to a count of 6. And continue at your own pace doing that. Come in here. Come in here. Come in here. You find yourself daydreaming, just come back to paying attention to your breath. Just label it thoughts, thinking, and just come back to paying attention to your breath. And we're doing mindfulness of deep breathing to make it easier for us to focus. Let go of the counting. And now just pay attention to breathing in and breathing out. Pay attention to your body as it expands and contracts as you breathe. Each time we find ourselves daydreaming, having discursive thoughts, just come back to the present, come back to focusing on your breath. few seconds, I'm going to ring the bell and open your eyes and come back into the present moment. And the noise in the background is my dog that's got himself all worked up this evening because his mommy went out and he's stuck with daddy. In meditation, we're basically working with three things: sensations, and that's what we talked about for the first 2 weeks, our body and what we were feeling and sensing. And last 2 weeks, we talked about our thoughts. Tonight, going to talk about emotions and feelings. And emotions and feelings are probably the most difficult challenge that we humans have. If we didn't have them, life would be so simple and also very boring. It'd be rational and it'd be very manageable. Emotions bring us trouble, bring us pain. They're powerful. They feel like they're coming right at us. And lots of times we really don't know what to do with them. Usually we treat them like hot potatoes. We act them out, and that becomes disastrous. Or we suppress and bury them and wind up with ulcers and all kinds of physical problems because we're ignoring our emotions, or we simply deny them. Our culture reinforces that to take your mind off of it, go for a walk or go to the gym. Meditation, on the other hand, deals with it in a different way. Facing what's uncomfortable and learning to be with it with clarity, kindness, and compassion. Because we're willing to sit with what you're feeling, you begin to learn from it. And to some extent, the problem with emotions is we don't allow ourselves to feel them. As soon as they come up, we're afraid of what's going to happen. So we just suppress them. We don't know our emotions because we don't let ourselves experience them properly. If we paid attention, we'd find out what they're made of. And what we call emotions is really composed of a story in our mind and feelings and energy in our body, thoughts and sensations. We have a storytelling mind. Our minds have amused us our whole lives, daydreaming, telling us stories, but many of the thoughts that we think are not actually true. Thoughts are simply judgmentally commenting on experience and then making up stories. As we begin to see that we're creating stories all the time, and then we realize we're believing our stories. We're living in a virtual reality of our own mind. We are the producer, the director, and the star of our own soap operas. These stories, we're just constantly leaving the actual world and we're in a virtual one. We make things up to tell ourselves things that aren't true, and then we react to them. Our thoughts lead us to poor decisions and actions that are out of sync with what's actually going on. Lots of times we completely misperceive what someone else is saying to us, thinking about. When we're able to see our thoughts, we become the objective observer of our own experiences. We start to see how our emotions are triggered by our thoughts. We need to learn and practice to see what's true. We're very convinced by the energetic power that comes out of the stories that we're thinking. But we really need to stop and ask ourselves, is it true? Or is it something that we're just making up? Is it a distortion? What do we mean by true? If it's true, it's a fact right now in this moment. But if we're telling ourselves a story about the future, it can't be true. We're not fortune tellers. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. And if we're making conclusions based on past experiences, again, we're making up a story about what could happen. And our mind makes us do this. It keeps having us relive the past. So we'll do it better in the future. But if we can drop out of that, if we can realize that we're just spinning a story based on a trigger about something from the past, so that we'll do it better the next time. Instead, we want to just stop and be with what's going on. Drop the story. What is the feeling? What's the ache? What's the pain? What's the sensation? Our prejudices, our embedded beliefs, the voices in our head, the story that's being told, how we are reacting to a trigger and telling ourselves a story. Bad feelings, depression, anxiety, guilt, hopelessness, frustration, anger are very often caused by distorted thoughts, thoughts that aren't true. We feel lousy, and it's because we've told ourselves an untruth. It just leads to stress. So it boils down to something very simple. Is this a fact? Is it true? Need to develop objectivity. And if it's not true, just let it go. Drop the story altogether and just come back to the present moment. If it's something that we're really hooked into, we really have to work at dropping the story. We have to keep telling ourselves it's not true. It's really like the Wizard of Oz. The entire town or city of Oz was afraid of the wizard. This big green face with flames all around it that was projected. Everyone was afraid of the wizard. But Toto pulled back the curtain, and the next thing we heard was, "Don't pay any attention to that man behind the curtain." And then everybody realized it was just a guy behind the curtain. There was no Wizard of Oz. It was just a story, a fabrication, and everybody was afraid for no reason. So our mindfulness, our breath, our coming back to the present moment can enable us to just be with our feelings. Drop the story, be present, but be aware of what we're physically feeling from these emotions, because the emotion is leaving us with physical sensations. We just stay present and breathe with the feeling, letting go of the story. just like in the previous class where I had everybody running back and forth and all around, and then just asked you all to stop and breathe and be, and just be present, dropping that story that isn't true, and just be with the feelings. What are the physical feelings? What is it that's going on? Is there tension in your body? Can you feel it? Is there tension in your forehead? Is your heart racing? Can you just breathe and be? And as you breathe and be, you start de-stressing. I bought a watch to help me with my exercising. And of course, it wants to know how you're feeling. So it says, we want to hear about the stress you have. So let's do a breathing exercise. And it has me breathing in to about a count of 4, breathing out to about a count of 4, but it has me do this 12 different times. And then it checks my pulse again. Have I relaxed? Am I less stressed? Well, while we're working with these emotions, can we feel them? Can we breathe with them? Can we relax? Can we look at them? What is it that we're feeling? And if we haven't told ourselves a story, if it's real, if we're concerned about our health or a loved one's health, we're concerned about that phone call that the doctor is going to make or the office visit to find out if we have something bad or if we're all better, or the story for a relative. Are they sick or are they better? Those feelings, the fear. Can we drop the story and just be with the fear? Can we breathe with the fear? Can we de-stress? Our mind is constantly telling us stories, and there's just endless things to trigger us. It is a constant Google search. Something happens, and our mind brings up all these stories so that we'll do it better the next time, or we'll be prepared for what's going to happen. But as we just sit and be with that feeling, we start having a different relationship to the feeling. And we realize that in this present moment, right now, there's nothing going on. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to stress about. And all the fear that we have about what's going to happen, we really don't have any control over it. All we can do is be present. And if we're present, we can learn, we can be able to simply respond as things happen and not being reactive as things are happening, or reactive because we're afraid of what's going to happen. So I'd like to try an exercise of working with emotions. I'm going to wind up spending 10 minutes. and like you to think about something that's been going on in your life, something that's you've been anxious about, or something that's troubled you. Don't pick a 10 on a 10 because that's a little hard to deal with. Try to pick something that's a little easier to deal with. So I could just sit here and go, I wish I could stop my dog from, because it's really annoying listening him to do that, but there's no way I can stop him until his mother comes home. So you're going to think about something that's been troubling you, and drop the story and just see what's left. Just start there. Stay with what's going on and breathe with the feelings and let them unfold. Let go of the tension in your body. And you might have to just keep letting it go and letting it go, and maybe going back to mindfulness of deep breathing. But the practice is letting go of the story. So the thing that's been bothering you, the story that's spinning in your head, is it about the future? If it is, it can't be true. So you're stressing about the future, and you're telling yourself a story about the future. Can you drop the story and just be with that feeling of anxiety? Is it an ache in your chest? For me, sorrow and happiness, I feel in my chest. So are you feeling it as an ache in your chest, tension in your temples? Are you clenching your jaw? Clenching your jaw, easy to fix. Put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and you stop clenching your jaw. Tension in your forehead or somewhere in your body, just breathe in and breathe out and let the tension go. Deal with the anxiety that way. Deal with the fear that way. And there's really multiple sensations. Lots of times we could feel hurt, and then we feel anger. So anger lots of times is part of these emotional feelings. There's in psychology, there's family dynamics, and you start looking at an individual, and the emotions are like the family dynamics. There is the protector, there is the defender, there is the injured child. We have all these pieces, parts, and they're competing with each other. And we might move one aside. We can move the anger aside and realize that we feel very hurt by what happened. What's that hurt from? For me, lots of times, it's still my mother's voice in my head. Stories that my mother told me or things that troubled her that are the voices in my head. And when I look at them, it's a sorrow and an anger. So what are the emotions that are coming up for you? How many different emotions? And can you just be with them? Maybe something that'll come up is really, really tough to deal with. And you might touch upon it and decide to let it go for now and come back to it at another time. This practice that we're going to do is something that you can do regularly to try to deal with all your pieces parts. Some personal therapy to realize that when you're triggered, what is it that you're really feeling? You drop the story and you're just with a feeling. And as I said lots of times, it's a feeling of anger or a feeling of shame, a feeling of unworthiness. You don't have the right to feel like this, or you shouldn't feel like this. It's a lifetime of crap that's been dumped on us that hurts. And we aren't even aware of it so often because we've not dealt with our emotions. We've buried them. So this is a practice to start unburying our emotions. Let me do that a little louder. Think about something. Wow, my dog stopped breathing hard. The bell got your attention, Alfie. That's wonderful. You were present. Now you're going to go back to breathing hard. Okay. What's something that's been annoying you, been troubling you, been upsetting you? Think about it. Is there a story involved? As you tell yourself that story, you start getting worked up. Is the story something really true? Or is it just a fantasy that your mind has made up? Drop the story and just be with the feelings, the emotions. What are they? Where do you feel it in your body? Shame, guilt, anger, pain, hurt. What physical feelings do you have from these emotions? And can you just be with the emotion, with the feeling? And even if the story is true, let go of the story and just be with the feelings, with the emotions. And use your breath to be with them. sometimes when we try to bring up something that's been troubling us in the past, we're not able to. So this has been bothering us and bothering us. But now that I'm asking you to bring it up, you're not able to. That's fine. Just be in the present moment and see what comes up. Or you're working on it and your mind decides to change the channel to a different story. And you realize that you've lost focus and you're daydreaming again about something else. See if you can come back to working on the annoyance, the issue, the pain. And again, this is simply a practice. Non-judgmental. We don't beat ourselves up for thinking it, for not being able to think it, for doing it, not being able to do it. This is just a practice. Few seconds, I'm going to ring the bell and open your eyes and come back with full awareness in the present moment. It's a hard practice, what we just did, dealing with emotions. And again, been in lots of, excuse me a minute. Suggest to my dog that he behave, which he doesn't not want to do. Lots of times when you're asked to bring up something that's been bothering you, you can't do it. Or you pick something that was very difficult. This is an excellent practice for mindfulness. Can you be with troubling things with your emotions? Can you also deal with your thinking mind and realize that so often it ain't true? It's just a story. If it's about the future, it definitely is not true. And if it's based on something that happened before and believing what's going to happen in the future, it's not true. It's not like putting together your to-do list for tomorrow or preparing for your meeting or your conversation that's going to take place. That's something entirely different. You're preparing for something. It's also a way to deal with anxiety about the future. You're going to the doctors. Write down your questions. And remember to bring that list with you. Then you don't have to keep spinning and spinning about what's going to happen when you go to the doctor. You have your questions and you're going to respond to the answers the doctor gives you. If you're giving advice to a loved one, to the grandchild, to the son or daughter, or your spouse or a friend, give them the suggestion of things that you think they should put on their list to ask, to do. Just as you can ask yourself, what would you do if this happens or that happens? You can give the same question to the other person. If they tell you it's something bad, what questions do you want to know? If they tell you it's good, what would you like to know about that? What are the steps they suggest you take? Who are the people they suggest you go to? As you pause and simply deal with things rationally, you're able to respond. You're able to be prepared, not spinning and spinning. You're able to jump off the hamster wheel. That hamster wheel is because we're reacting to triggers based on all the stuff that's happened in our past. and what our mind does to those triggers. The more we are present, the more we change how we respond to things and stop reacting to things. Being able to respond to things is going back to the movie The Matrix. And as the bullets are flying at him, he sees them and he just ducks out of the way. He's able to respond instantly to what's happening. No need to react, simply respond. And the more we're present, the more we're able to respond in an appropriate way and not react in an inappropriate way. I have 2 minutes. So we could just pause and relax for another 2 minutes, being present. Or we could treat ourselves to ending a minute or two early. So let's look at it that way. I hope everybody is nice and relaxed and in the present moment. And I hope this was a good exercise for you. It's something I really would like to see you try going forward. Or at least the next time you find yourself spinning. Is it a true story? Drop the story. What are you feeling? What is the emotion? What is the feeling? What are your pieces parts that are triggered? And can you just be with them? And breathe. The body scan, just breathe, relax, de-stress. I would like us to send this wonderful energy out to all beings everywhere. May they be at peace. May they know the causes of peace. May they be free from suffering. And have a great week, and shalom to everyone. And thank you for letting me share this with you.
Thank you, Dan.
Shalom. Thank you.
Bye all.
Next
Goodbye.
week's our last week.
Okay.
Oh,
Hi.
that's fast. Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank
I-
you.
Okay.
Eileen,
Thank
are
you.
you staying on?
Am I what?
Are you going on the next?
In the next one. I have a phone call to make first.
Okay. See you then.
Bye-bye.